Panthers, it's Miss Porter and my fluffy friend Mosa. He's here and he's ready to help us learn some new things in math. Today we're going to be focusing on addition and subtraction strategies for numbers within 1,000. Grab your own fluffy friend and let's get started. There are several addition and subtraction strategies that you have already learned throughout 3rd grade. For example, for addition strategies, you guys have learned how to add using a number line, hundreds, tens, ones, and the traditional algorithm. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on the hundreds, tens, ones strategy, moving toward using the traditional algorithm. For subtraction, you have learned how to subtract using a number line, whether you count back or turn the subtraction sentence into addition. That's a really common one that a lot of students like to use. You've also learned how to decompose one of the numbers, break it apart, and subtract first the ones, then the tens, then the hundreds. And then we've also learned hundreds, tens, ones using like the sheet strip singles and crossing out what you do, and the traditional algorithm. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on using the hundreds, tens, ones strategy, moving toward understanding how to do that in the traditional algorithm. Let's start with this addition problem. Thinking back to last week's steps, I'm going to follow those same steps to solve this word problem. So the first step is to read and think about what the problem is about. There are 100 crayons in a box. Mrs. Smith has 7 boxes of crayons in the art room. Mrs. Johnson gives her 379 more crayons. How many crayons does Mrs. Smith have now? So I'm going to set up my page and kind of sketch out what I am picturing. I am picturing that there, like in one box is 100 crayons, right? A C for crayons. I'm also picturing that I know that she has 7 boxes, so 7 boxes of crayons. And then Mrs. Johnson gives her 379 more. So 379 more crayons from Mrs. Johnson. Okay, now I'm going to reread it and think about what is the problem asking. So now that I've made my mental picture and jotted down some important information, there are 100 crayons in a box. Mrs. Smith has 7 boxes of crayons in the art room. Mrs. Johnson gives her 379 more crayons. How many crayons does Mrs. Smith have now? So I know that it's asking me how many does she have now, so I'm going to need to be adding those 7 boxes of crayons with the 375. But my first step is to solve, well, first I need to know how many crayons. So Mrs. Smith has 7 boxes or 7 groups of 100. So 7 times 100, or 100 added together 7 times, would equal 700. So she has 700 crayons. Okay, now my next step is I need to add together 700 crayons plus 379 more crayons that Mrs. Johnson gives her. So you'll see that I'm using the traditional algorithm to solve this, and I've lined up the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place, which is really important when you solve addition or subtraction problems using the traditional algorithm. So I'm also going to do the hundreds, tens, ones to show how it is connected to the traditional algorithm. So let's start with putting our 700 on here. So I'm going to draw 700. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. Okay, now I have my 700. There are no, in the number 700, there are no tens or ones. So now I need to draw my 379. So 100, 200, 300, and then 79, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 70, and then 9 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And as you can see, I've tried to, for my tens and ones, put them in rows of 5 to help me count. So I know that there's 5 and then 6, 7, 8, 9 ones. Okay, so now I need to add these all together. Well, if I'm thinking, I'm going to draw a line almost like over here, this line that we have here for our equals. So looking at my ones, I know that nothing plus 9 would equal 9 ones. So 0 plus 9 is 9. Now looking at my tens column, I have 7 tens, same thing. I only have 7 tens. So it would be 70, okay? And so 7 tens, 0 plus 7, if I'm looking back at my traditional algorithm, would equal 7. Now I have my hundreds, and I have 7 hundreds plus 3 hundreds. So 700, 700, 800, 800, 900, 1000. Okay, so I'm noticing that I just made a group of 1000. Can I put 1000 here in the hundreds place? No, I can't. So what I need to do is I need to make one group of 1000. And so to do that, I circle all my hundreds because I made one group of 1000, and I need to add the thousands. I'll put TH for thousands column. And so this thousands column, I'm going to draw a cube to show that that is 1000. So I have 1000. And do I have any hundreds left? No, I have 0 hundreds left. Okay, so thinking 7 plus 3 equals 10. So there's that 0 in my hundreds place, and then I have one group of 1000. And so my answer would be n equals 1079 crayons. Let's move on to our subtraction strategy. As you can see, I already set up the Foursquare for me to organize my work, and I put some of the important information right here. So let me read it. There are 100 paper clips in a box, and Jane has 6 boxes of paper clips. She needs to use 381 paper clips for a project. How many paper clips will she have left? So I drew out my information. I know that one box has 100 paper clips, 6 boxes. So my first step is going to be to figure out how many total does she have, is she starting with. So 6 groups of 100 would equal 600 total paper clips. Okay, I'll do PC for paper clips. Now I'm going to move on to my second step, which would be to set up the subtraction. If she uses 381, I know that I'm going to be subtracting 600. Actually, let me move that over. I want some more space. 600 minus 381. Very important that your ones, tens, and hundreds are all in line. Okay, I'm going to pause it and set up my next part. Okay, now I set up my hundreds, tens, ones chart, and when we subtract, we only put the top number or the largest number that we're taking away from on our hundreds, tens, ones chart. So it's different from addition where we put both numbers. In subtraction, we just put the largest number, and then we'll be crossing out to take away the amount for the 381. So looking at this, the first thing I notice is that starting in this column, in the, let me use yellow, in the tens column, or sorry, the ones column, I can't take away 1 from 0. And looking here at my chart, I have no ones yet to be able to take away 1. So what I need to do is I need to go all the way over to what I do have, which is the 100. And I need to break up one of my hundreds into some tens. So how many tens are in 100? There are 10 tens. So I'm going to draw that out. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now that step that I just did there, when I do it in the traditional algorithm, what I would do is I would cross out the 6. I would make it a 5 because now I only have 500, just like in my picture. And I would cross out this 0, and that becomes 10 tens. Okay, that becomes 10 tens. Now, I could do 10 minus 8, but I have to start in the ones column when I'm subtracting. And so I'm borrowing or regrouping to make it possible to subtract. So now I have no ones still. So what I need to do is I need to go back to my tens. I need to take one of those tens. I need to break it apart into 10 ones. So I cross it out right here, and I'm breaking it apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now I took that 10 and I took one of those groups of 10 and I moved it over here to the ones place. So now I have 10 ones, but now I only have 9 tens. If I look here back at my tens place, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. So that's why that becomes a 9 above the 10 right here. Okay, so now I'm ready to subtract because I can take away 1 from, let me use a different color, I'll use red. So now I can start in the ones column and I can subtract 10 minus 1. So over here, I'll cross out the 1. I have 9 ones left over. So 10 minus 1 equals 9. Now in my tens place, okay, so this place right here, so I already did the ones. Now moving to my tens place, I have 9 groups of 10. If I take away one more over here on my chart, I would have 8 groups of 10, which is 80. Okay, so 9 minus 8. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'm taking away 8. I'm not ending with 8. So I need to cross out. So hold on. Let me erase that. So 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So I'm left with one group of 10. And so 9 minus 8 equals 1. All right, and then if I move to my hundreds, I have 500s minus 300. So I'm crossing out 100, 200, 300, and I'm left with 200. So 5 minus 3 equals 2. So if I add up these numbers, my answer would be 219. So N equals 219 paper clips is how many she will have left. Now that you've finished the lesson, go ahead on over to Schoology and choose one activity for each day this week to practice what you've learned. So that means by Friday, you'll have done 5 of the choice board activities. Can't wait to see you next time. In this lesson, we practiced a strategy for addition and a strategy for subtraction. If you are not too comfortable with those two strategies, or you want to review other strategies to add or subtract within 1,000, check out Mrs. Cito's review videos. For addition, this video reviews the following strategies: hundreds, tens, ones, and the traditional algorithm. And for subtraction, this video reviews the number line, turning subtraction into addition, decomposing a number, and more practice with the traditional algorithm. So check out her videos if you want some extra help.